Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Company of Heroes History. Now today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're looking, rather than a 1 versus 1 game, we're going to look at a 2 versus 2 game. Now this is between two teams who were very popular and played a lot of team games, particularly when the game first came out. In the west over here we have Team ID, and we have Eye of the Storm in the northern base, and the southern base is Begs. Now in the south, we have a different team called TI with MrGrunt at the southern base and TI Smurf unranked in the northern base. Now we see both of them immediately on this map. Lorraine have opted to run straight for this middle VP and try and get a hold of this house. This house was a particularly valuable one, and rushes like this were very, very popular in the game. Now we can see that if you get just in this area here, there is a blind spot to this house here, or if you're able to get into the right position. Smurf is not quite in the right spot here, but isn't too far away, and then sitting in this heavy cover can still do very well in this battle. I would say you can't quite see the health in this Pioneer squad, the engineers, so they are doing okay. In the meantime, their reinforcements are coming up from Begs, so unless Team TI are able to get some reinforcements of their own here pretty quickly, yep, they will be able to take that spot. In the north, they are moving out there and capping this northern area using a couple more pioneers, and looks like they've gone for Volksgrenadiers first. Meanwhile, we see an early wire rush from MrGrunt. Now, as I explained in the last video, wire was very powerful in these early days because you had to upgrade at the headquarters to have the ability to cut wire, or to get out some light vehicles so you could just drive through it. So this will be very good at blocking off the southern area of the map. I'll show you the tactical map quickly. Blocking off this area here where there's a couple of nice munitions points and a few small low fuels. Now it looks like we are going to have a bit of action in the middle of Volksgrenadier, Pioneer, sorry, and a machine gun squad are going to take this house and lock down the center. We saw that Smurf wanted to get his own MG up there, but this is not going to go down well for him here. With the Pioneers scouting, they may take a little bit of damage because of the high damage output of the heavy MG. In fact, they may even go down, they do. But this other Pioneer squad should be able to get behind, and yeah, the Team TI are forced to pack up there and run away. In the meantime, they're using the engineers in the north. There's a bicycle out too. We have a bike, both a bike and a jeep out. These light vehicles really do help early in the game. Getting a little bit of scouting in and possibly scaring off the early snipers, giving yourself a little bit more control over those early snipers as they move out onto the map. Engineers here trying to take this house. The houses really do make a big difference on Lorraine. If they can get a machine gun in here, then that is a really strong pin on the south here. And they may even be able to start attacking this weapon support center, which has been built absurdly far forward. Having said that, these bikes and jeeps are not able to do a great deal of damage to units in houses in particular, so there is a little bit of an opportunity here, and he has been able to cut this off. Oof. I think this MG here could have been moved up at any point and popped in this house, or has come to help here, try and get this house out, and if they were able to get the MG in there, that could be incredibly powerful. As it is, we see this Volksgrenadier squad is now under fire from a heavy machine gun, while the Volksgrenadiers over here are firing not from cover on this Jeep. The Jeep still has a decent amount of health here, as does the motorcycle, although the motorcycle's going to really struggle to get out of there without going down. Damaged engine. We'll be very surprised if that gets away, and indeed it doesn't. Now a second heavy machine gun is able to come up and take this house and get a little bit of control here. Meanwhile, the south of the map is very secure, having been wired over here, here, and it looks like there's a little bit of wire going down here as well. Now, Eye of the Storm was trying to get a bunker down here. Those Pioneers are extremely low health and will go down, so that bunker is going to be denied completely. Although this MG gun here is firing on the heavy machine gun that the allies have put in this house. Also, a flame pioneer moving up as well. This is a blind spot on this side of the house, so they'll be able to fire from this heavy cover with impunity. There's no choice but for this HMG to get out of there sometime soon. Oh, we see a sniper is now moving up to help out in this engagement. They may be able to take out this Volksgrenadier on retreat. Not quite able to get this shot off, but he will be able to force this heavy machine gun to relocate, unless Begs wants to use that squad. And the north, this Jeep is still causing trouble. Looks like it's gonna come under fire here. Will it be able to get away from this heavy machine gun in this house? It looks unlikely to me. But the sniper's doing a great job at forcing away this MG42, sorry, in this house here. We'll have to retreat, although it decides to set up instead. That looks to me like it's a bit of a bug. It's going to force it to retreat. Oh, this machine gun here. There's so many machine guns. This really is. It's like machine gun ping pong here. You see the heavy machine gun shooting from that house over there in this lower window. Meanwhile, the MG42 of the Axis firing from here. There's not a road I would like to be trying to move up and down as either faction at this stage. Another motorcycle out from Begs here. Obviously, wants to have something on the field that can be a bit of a direct counter to that sniper you engaged with earlier. Where's that sniper gone? Let's check the minimap really quickly. No, it looks as though maybe the sniper may have gone down already. I'm very sorry if I missed that. I'll have to check that in the replay afterwards. Oh, unless unless it is garrisoning one of these buildings here and helping out in that sense. Can't see it anywhere, so it must have gone down. Maybe it was this motorcycle was able to chase it down into the base, or wasn't paying attention. Just checking the teching very quickly. Looks like Smurf is going for the motor pool. Nothing yet, although we do have a supply yard from MrGrunt. Maybe double motor pool. Looks like something might be about to come down here. Not just yet. I'll come back to that in a second. Meanwhile, in the Axis base, we have Tier 2 from EyeOfTheStorm, and nothing as of yet from Begs. Now, it could be that if the Allies are able to get... They've got a foothold around the edge of the map now, you can see. Being able to move their way around this MG42. It's in this house. And cutting the edge of the map and getting decent amount of resources in there. So they shouldn't have a teching disadvantage. As we may have been worried about earlier when they lost the entire north. But having the south here, and having added an observation post as well on both fuels, looks like they will have plenty of fuel income coming in there to do some damage at their tier 3 buildings. Well, the tier 4 may as of yet be a little ways away. Now, so we did see a Panzerfaust go off there. It looks like the Panzerfaust was trying to take out this heavy machine gun, but wasn't able to do so on its own. Able to retreat quite easily and reinforce at this weapons support center here. In the meantime, some riflemen coming up and getting into another little blind spot of this building, trying to do some damage. Meanwhile, an Axis sniper has moved to the forward and is able to do a bit of damage to this heavy machine gun on its own too. Now, MrGrunt aiming to try and rush this sniper here. We'll have to see if it's okay. The sniper chooses to cloak and then get into the house using the additional cover that offers. We'll try and shoot from there, but at this range that not accurate in the slightest. We'll come back to this engagement shortly. In the meantime, we have a very awkward engagement here that Smurf will have to run away from with this MG42 in this building. Unless that goes to a flamer. In the meantime, the sniper is still doing okay. Seems like it has managed to take out 2 more of this rifleman squad. However awkward it is at this range. MrGrunt's got to be careful he doesn't lose this rifle squad here. Chooses to retreat and going to get away, it looks like. In the meantime, Smurf's done a very good job of getting a flamer up close and personal. Looks like he may have lost the flamer there unless it was able to escape. Looks like, yes, it was able to escape just about with its life. In the meantime, another set of engineers have moved up here and are just trying to kind of mess around with this heavy machine gun, moving between windows, getting it to change location. Although this motorcycle has come up now to help with that. Now we may see the M3 half-track has come out from Smurf, and we'll have to see whether this is upgrading to the quad half-track we saw in the previous replay. The 100 munitions upgrade, which makes it a lot more effective against infantry, and this bicycle will not last long at all if it chooses to focus fire it. Here we go. Yeah, the motorcycle goes down in a single barrage there. We also have the M3 half-track to take a Panzerfaust in the rear there, though. Look, a little bit of damage. It has to be slightly careful in case there's any more Volkswagen squads around, or maybe a pack gun knocking about. With this mortar here, it's an expensive, very powerful unit with its extra range over the American mortar. But it will have to be careful. Without any protection from this quad, it could be in big trouble. The quad aiming instead to take a little long way around, get a little bit of scouting of this heavy machine gun in the MG42, sorry, in the middle, and then deciding to move away back to base and get some healing, perhaps. In the meantime, the south, it looks as though Begs has, we definitely can see now he's taken Blitz Doctrine, sorry, with access to stormtroopers. Upgraded with the Panzer Shrek already. That'll help a great deal with the quad. But he's also tried to use a few more engineer squads. Looks like he has paid for the upgrade here. Nope, just choosing to get into this house. I wonder if there's another door here he could get out. Doesn't appear so. But you can see the pin is still in place. There was a little bit of harassment in the south, but on the whole, the south has been held pretty firmly by the allies here. Oh, we see I'm not sure if that was a recon flight. Looked like a recon flight. Oh no, here comes the strafe though. Strafe the heavy machine gun in a building, and it manages to take it out. And the mortar team. I have not seen that before. I didn't realize that strafes were so effective against units in buildings in the early builds of Company of Heroes. That was a big moment there with both the mortar and the MG42 squad going down. The squad is also being able to do a little bit of damage from distance. This does have to be careful, as I mentioned before. These Panzerfausts are very powerful against it. Oh, and the damaged engine from the MG42, then this could be trouble. And it does go down to another Panzerfaust. A little bit sloppy there from the allies, particularly when they had engineers just nearby. Just backing up slightly earlier, they would have been able to keep that on top. We do see that the Axis have now upgraded with the wire cutting ability and a flamer on this individual Pioneer squad, and are going to come down and harass the south. If they're able to take out this observation post or two and maybe decap them, that'll put a real severe dent in the allies' fuel income. We'll have to see if he's able to get in there, whether this rifle squad are able to chase these Pioneers away. There's always such a toss-up with the flamers. You never know when those crits are going to come in and really turn the tide of battle in an instant, it seems. There's another engineer squad down here as well. Looks like they've gone for another observation post. Really want to get the south as a real fortress that's going to keep bringing in resources for them. Which is important, it would seem, because the north, it really seems quite tricky now. Several MG42s up here have got a very strong pin in place. And these Volksgrenadiers upgraded with the MP40s can do a lot of damage to any infantry that may try and rush out of there. Half track coming forward as well. Now this is a very interesting unit because it enables you, if you're able to secure a position, enables you to reinforce at the front without having to go for defensive doctrine and a bunker, although that might be what we see from Eye of the Storm anyway. I believe it was Begs who went blitz. So we'll have to see what Eye of the Storm goes for here. Oh, now we see an M4 Sherman coming forward here. Now this could be able to turn the tide. I'm very surprised to see this come out so quickly. See, it looks like it was Smurf who went for that. Oh no, it could be both players in fact who've gone for this. This in fact is MrGrunt Sherman. He's done very well to maintain the fuel income in the south to support a Sherman. I'm a little bit surprised by that. Not a great deal of anti-tank on the field right now. We have one Grenadier squad. We have without a Panzerschreck as of yet. We do have one Panzerschreck, it looks like, on this Stormtrooper squad. The Sherman can use this little bit of time here. It's got a nice timing window to do some real damage. Clear up a couple of these MGs perhaps. Maybe do a bit of damage to this bunker as well. But we do see, and this was a very important part of the meta in the early game, Stormtrooper snipes, where you would sneak around like a little ninja and try and get your cloaked Stormtroopers up to the rear of the light vehicles or tanks and do this heavy damage. Panzerschrecks now, will they be able to get off that third shot they often need for the kill? Yes, they do. So the second quad half-track goes down there. And now the Panzerschrecks are able to go and turn their attention to this Sherman. The Grenadier squad that was upgraded with a Panzerschreck does manage to get away. We get 2 more rear armor hits on this Sherman, which is up to level to veterancy. Oh my heavens! We got to veterancy 2 and we saw this Stormtrooper squad that was right behind there that looked absolutely certain to get off the final shot. It looked like it was a combination of the Sherman Crush and the Strafe from the Airborne Company that was able to take that out. And now a Calliope comes in, parks in front of the Pioneers that picked up the Panzerschreck and hid in this bunker, and is able to swallow a shot there and protect the mainline M4 Sherman from the incoming Panzerschreck. It looks like that squad must have gone down within the bunker now as well, or is just missing horribly. Absolutely has gone down now, leaving the Panzerschreck behind. This is a big moment there. If they'd been able to take out that first M4 Sherman before the Calliope came along, it may have been a different engagement. But as it is, that's a big trouble. We see another squad go down in that building too. Still an MG42 in here, but apart from that, it's big trouble. This sniper is also having to hide away in the corner using its cloak. It seems the Calliope may be aware that it's there, but unable to locate it as of this moment. Begs has teched for tier 3 in the Sturm Armory, however, and it'll be interesting to see what this first Stug 4 that's come out is going to be able to do against these two tanks. Both of them have slightly low health and not particularly good frontal armor, so if the Stug was able to penetrate from the front and keep its front armor facing them and maybe able to take on this engagement, it's a little bit tricky, particularly with the Veteran C2 on this Sherman. Nothing yet's been able to come up and pick up this Panzerschreck and make the most of that. This Stug, is in a very awkward engagement here. Moves forward slightly, but in the end decides not to engage there. May have been worth. I think I certainly would have tried to push around this corner and snipe the low Calliope. But it was just waiting, it seems, for a second unit to really help with this push. That Calliope is still somehow getting away with its life. I have no idea how. Moving backwards, he has to be careful. As the Calliope barrage, here it comes! Calliope barrage goes down on the two Stugs. The Sherman able to move away effectively, but the Stugs are not. One Stug has main gun destroyed, is likely to go down here. Damaged engine as well, not able to retreat. Yes, the Calliope there does get the penetration, gets the kill, but it gets its own main gun destroyed. The Stug now deciding not to go in for the... that, again, seems like a slight missed opportunity to me. The Stug does have plenty of health there if it's able to just move in for that one last attempt of a shot. You don't have to run all the way in, all the way into the base and put yourself at risk, but certainly there was enough scope there, I think, to try one more engagement. In the meantime, it sounds like somewhere we've had airborne being dropped, airborne infantry being dropped in the northern air point by MrGrunt, hoping to get behind enemy forces. Another squad coming down here and just getting about a little bit of map control and kind of change the front line somewhat. Fighting through this choke point here is not proving particularly effective. We also have EyeOfTheStorm bringing up a pack gun here to help with the tank battles in the south. Very important here. Now we see a second M4 Sherman out on top of the first one, and the Sherman Calliope in the base still just fine. Excellent teamwork in the south here. It's one thing you often see with kind of lower level 2v2 games is you see kind of 2 1 versus 1 games going on simultaneously, but that's absolutely not the case here. The airborne infantry in the north were chased away, and actually we're not chased away, they've decided instead to come down here and try and harass this pack gun. Wonder if they'll be using their satchel charge. It could be very expensive if they go down, however, with these MP40 Volksgrenadiers coming in, and that is a squad wipe there, very expensive squad wipe with the airborne. Of course, they cost 400 manpower to call in. The second airborne squad is doing okay. It is suppressed here by the MG42 in the middle house. And we now see a Pioneer squad go in here. If they're upgraded with flamers, this could smell a bit of trouble for the airborne squad here. Doesn't look like there's flamers. Or maybe they're just slightly out of range. It's difficult to tell. And yet another Sherman from the Allies here. So we now have 1 M4 Sherman, 2 M4 Sherman, 3 M4 Shermans, and a Sherman Calliope in the northern part of this, trying to push out of the bases. The Axis are pretty well entrenched here, but I'm not sure they're able to take all these out on their own. One Sherman decides to push the middle VP and just finds a pack on its own. The pack does get a couple of shots off, isn't able to take it down, or with no support from mines or anything here to slow it down. It gets behind the pack gun, and I can't imagine that pack gun is going to escape. In the meantime, this MG42 did reposition to pin this squad here, but a second one is now dropping in behind it and may cause some big trouble. Now the pack gun does manage to get one more shot off. In the meantime, the Stugs have moved back from the north. Now we see a very awkward battle where we have airborne and Stugs in the middle with supporting the Sherman. In the meantime, the 2 Shermans and a Calliope moving out there, able to take down the second pack gun. I think that should be plenty there. In the meantime, a Grenadier squad have moved forward to try and help out and take out that Sherman, which they are able to do. The airborne infantry squad, a second airborne infantry squad may go down, and it does. Very expensive. The 3rd airborne infantry in this corner. We'll have to see if they get taken out on retreat. I'll check back into that in a second. In the meantime, in the north, this push seems to be very effective. There's really nothing the Axis can do about this at the moment. They don't have the forces in this location to hold this back. The 2 Stugs relocating to the middle, and the Grenadiers, the Stretch Grenadiers and Stormtroopers also in that area. We do see now 3 Stugs against 3 Shermans, one of which is a Calliope, of course. The Calliope moving forward on its own at first. I would be very careful of this. It looks like it might get itself into trouble, though. A couple of deflections there. It seems like it may be absolutely fine. Sherman Calliope moving back slightly here. It's always a bit of a red flag, given the power of that Calliope barrage. A little bit of this micro here with the Sherman behind us go down to the flanking Stormtroopers. Fantastic move there. the triple vet Sherman as well finds itself in danger unless it's able to get a crush off. One crush goes down effectively. The second crush not quite, but if one more shot on this Stormtrooper squad is not long for this world either. One Sherman able to just retreat away. The Sherman Calliope itself, veterancy 2, is being chased down now by this Grenadier squad. Oh, that's a very unfortunate miss. And the Stug 4 moving in here to finish the job here. Yeah, it is in fact the Grenadier squad that gets the final shot there. Now we see 2 Stug 4s moving forward here to try and finish off this M4 Sherman. Meanwhile, the airborne player has dropped in a anti-tank gun. Now this could be able to force these Stugs away. They're very effective against Stugs. And a Stew here from the Blitzkrieg Doctrine. Stew, I mean, in the early days of the game, it just was not a powerful tank. Didn't do the damage it was supposed to do against infantry. Didn't have the penetration against tanks. It was a pretty poor option, apart from its cost effectiveness. One thing interesting to note is that Blitzkrieg in the early days of the game, you didn't just get access. Now it's a firestorm somewhere. Looks like it's coming down here. This could be huge. I'll come back to the Blitzkrieg point. The Sherman is going to be able to get away, but that's a lot of engineer squads taking a hit there. Ooh, that's very unfortunate. Looks like that was a couple of, or one engineer squad going down. One gets away with one man, and another AT gun has been decrewed. Not the worst scenario there for the Allies. That could have been a little bit worse, I think. If they'd lost both of these AT guns, that could have really spelled trouble if there's a future pushes going forward. Yes, so as we see MrGrunt trying to take out this bunker in the north with an AT gun. One thing to note is that in the early days of Company Fear's Blitz, the Blitzkrieg Doctrine was a little bit stronger in that when you called in anything from the left side of the tree, whether it was Stormtroopers, the Stew, or the Tiger, if you called in the Stew or the Tiger, you also got a Stormtrooper squad with it as well. So you paid a little bit more for it. I believe it was another 100 resources for each of those call-ins than they are today. But to get an extra Stormtrooper squad on top of the tanks that you're getting is such an enormous piece of value for money. That's one of the reasons it was so powerful in the early days. To another push here, we see a combination of 2 more M4 Shermans and a Sherman Calliope pushing in the north. These units here, I think, have got to get away as soon as they can. This is going to be really, really problematic. This Grenadier squad trying to do some damage, but didn't yet have a Panzerschreck. Now this Volksgrenadier squad is just sat here. Looks like trying to take out some of the infantry that EyeOfTheStorm has put in that building there, but it's not going to be able to do so. Now it seems that we may see a little bit of a transition here in terms of map control. We've got a very awkward engagement in the north. All those infantry going down, although the initially retreated Grenadier squads did get away. Everything else was lost up there. And it's clear that the Allies are going to be able to take the north quite easily. However, in the meantime, we do see in the south a little bit of a pushback from the Axis. It's unclear how effective it's going to be. Another strafe comes in, takes out the MG, and all but takes that Stormtrooper squad as well. My word, the strafes in this game have really made an enormous difference. That's a very expensive moment there, and particularly if the Allies are able to take that MG42 and reinforce the squad from it, that's obviously particularly cost effective. The Axis for now, it seems, have been pushed back and sitting in their base, and are going to have to be a little regroup for a minute here. I really think the Allies have taken an enormous lead, particularly in terms of the armor. If you see these 3 tanks in the north, backed up by a good bit of infantry, a few engineer squads, a sniper still alive, a few rifleman squads, and these airborne infantry. I think this is a really good opportunity for the Allies to sort of consolidate their position with a bit of time. Although having said that, we do see what looks like a big push now coming in the south with the Blitz Tiger. Blitz Tiger coming forward. Or is that the Tiger Ace, in fact, from the Terror Doctrine? I was looking for the extra Stormtroopers, didn't see them, I'm getting a bit worried. Tiger Ace now pushing to the south. Now this will be a very difficult thing for the Allies to hold in the south. No bar upgrade on these riflemen, so they should lose in short range combat against these Volksgrenadiers. Indeed they do. Eggs pushing forward now, although you just have to watch out for another strafe. Yet another strafe, and the MP40's squad does go down. That is a very difficult moment to watch there. Very unfortunate indeed, seeing the entire squad wipe yet again. That's going to put the brakes on this, push a little bit, although we can see there is very little anti-tank in the south. In fact, there is next to no anti-tank in the south. You see 3 Shermans moving down from the middle here. 1, 2 Shermans and a 3rd Sherman moving down. There's an AT gun in the north too, but the south, I'm not sure even those 2 Shermans, unless they have some support, will be able to take out a Tiger is in isolation. So it looks like they're in fact going for something slightly different. We can see the up gun now has been done on the Sherman, making them more effective against tanks, which will be very helpful as we see the Tiger Ace on the field. But it does make them slightly less effective against infantry. Although it has to be said, in the early days, they still could do a fair bit of damage against infantry in the right circumstances, as you're witnessing here. Wasn't the downgrade against infantry that it is today, that's for sure. Oh, and now a big push on the Axis base here. The Allies moving in with their three tanks, choosing not to fight the Tiger Ace in the south, but instead move forward, taking out the Stormtrooper squad. That's an enormous investment. Going down there with the Panzer. Oh no, looks like they survived and just hopped in this bunker instead. That's my mistake. Although this airborne squad, if they're able to get a satchel charge off there, could do a lot of damage. It'll be interesting to see what in this base, in this attack on the base they decide to go for. In the south, it really does seem like the Axis are going to be able to push things away. So what is going to be the priority for the Allies in the base here? Taking down... Could be trying to take down this... Oh, it did look like the squad in the Stormtrooper squad now goes down in there. Dropping the Panzerschreck outside the bunker, so the airborne could pick that up if they wanted to help out with some of the tank battles coming here. And it looks like the Axis have decided to send back their 2 tanks here to try and take on these Shermans. 1 Sherman will go down out of control. That was a triple vet Sherman goes down. That's a very good trade. Oh, look at that. Taking out the Stug before it does. But that's a good trade. A Stug for a triple vet Sherman. I think you'd take that any day of the week. Calliope Barrows now aiming for the Tiger Ace, but it's able to move out of the way. But not before the airborne pick up that Panzerschreck that's there before and are now heading around there trying to get some rear shots off on this Tiger Ace. The Sherman having to pull back now carefully. They are able to get with that up gun. They are able to more frequently penetrate, although it is still a real challenge to do so. And here we see the big daddy Tiger coming out now. The Tiger Ace is now joined by its little brother, the Blitz Tiger. This Sherman here is not long for this world. We see another Stormtrooper unit on the field because of that fact I was talking about before, where they were the Tiger and Stu would be accompanied by a Stormtrooper squad. Such a fantastic investment, very powerful. And now with these 2 pieces of heavy tanks on the field, both of them with relatively high HP, you can absolutely see the potential for the Axis to push back now. In the meantime, the south does seem to have been pretty well locked down by the Axis, although this looks like it's in fact allied barbed wire. It seems like maybe they were allies deciding to try and pin them in there. Or that was the effect that the earlier barbed wire was then having. The Axis were able to secure the south and have got that nice bit of income coming in again. To support them getting upgrades such as the light machine gun for the Grenadiers, making them much more effective against infantry if they're able to be stationary, and particularly if they're sat behind some cover, they can do a great deal of damage to infantry. Now they do see the big 2 heavy tanks moving down the center of the map now and split the map in 2. In the meantime, we see a push with a 1 Sherman in the south, supported by an airborne squad with that Panzerschreck they stole earlier. And the Shermans are now moving forward. We see now a Pershing has come out from Smurf. I think the Pershing is a good option in this. It's going to help stem the tide, but it isn't going to be able to take these 2 on its own. It desperately needs help from this Calliope. And maybe the AT gun that I think was moved to the north. Yep, and is now moving its way south again. We see 2 Shermans now come in to the rear of this. And that looks like it maybe... Is that a strafing run? Or is that just a recon flight? I didn't see what that took out. I'll have to check that again. You can see now these 2 Shermans supported by the Pershing are going to be able to take out the Tiger Ace. It seems the Tiger Ace is rushing away, taking a lot of fire. These 2 lame Shermans moving forward now, trying to get the penetration. In the end, it looks like it was this Sherman that got the final shot, but it will go down. In the meantime, Grenadiers here shooting the Sherman in the back. That's 2 more Panzerschreck shots that managed to miss despite absolutely hitting. What an enormous fight this is here. The Pershing struggling against the Tiger. It's very close, but the Pershing does go down. Now that we'll see if the Blitz Tiger is able to retreat here before the Calliope barrage comes in and takes it out and takes out the house with the poor Stormtrooper squad with the Panzerschreck in there too, who are blown out of the window. Well, I think we've had something of a reset there to a degree. There's so many units going down. We'll have to take stock a little bit here after these airborne units come forward, trying to take out the pack gun. The more Grenadiers coming forward, and Pioneers too, which can probably do a decent job against this airborne, particularly now they've lost a little bit of that anti-infantry power by picking up the Panzerschreck. Also see an MP40 Volksgrenadier squad coming forward here now. One tank from the Allies. It looks like that's all we have on the field currently by way of armor. Yep, this one Calliope here, which may itself go down if it's not careful. These two Panzerschrecks and the Pack 40, Pack 38, sorry, in combination may be able to take that down. And absolutely should be able to take that down, unless there's a couple of lucky shots here, or there's a grenade comes out from the airborne. Oh, that's a very unfortunate miss from the Panzerschreck and one misfire. Oh no! Will it be able to get off that final shot? They do get a shot off, but go down. That is an unfortunate situation. May have been an interesting choice there to throw out a grenade and try and take out the repairing engineers. Maybe do a little bit of extra damage to the airborne and be able to stick around there a little bit longer. That's very unfortunate, but we do see a Puma and Tiger Ace come out here. The Puma will help do a little bit more damage against these airborne squads. Having said that, airborne squads with Panzerschrecks, I think, can hold their own pretty decently against an airborne if they focus fire, but they aren't, and they're taken out by the Daddy Boy Tiger Ace coming in at the last minute again. Now, this Puma will have to get away from this Sherman coming in here, but I think the Tiger Ace should be able to keep that under control, and it should be fine. The AT gun in the north moving down is taken out by the MP40 squad. The Puma now moving up towards the north. Trying to get away, but there is an engineer squad here with a Panzerschreck that may cause that a little bit of trouble as it tries to retreat. As yet another Pershing comes out to replace the Sherman that just died here to the Tiger Ace. There is so much going on in this game. It's very hard to keep up with the play-by-play. In the north, we see looks like an airborne squad in this window here, fighting off against an LMG upgraded Grenadier squad. It'll be a very awkward and probably long engagement from these two houses, I would imagine. Meantime, the Tiger Ace is able to chase away that second Pershing. I think in this situation, it's a really good situation. Oh my word, that must have been a mine was under there, and the Tiger Ace's shot was able to just detonate the mine underneath the Pershing, damaging its engine. If it's able to get around the back there and reveal some of that weak rear and side armor, this Pershing could be in a little bit of a difficult position. Puma now is coming down to it's gone up to the north. He's made to help out with this very awkward engagement. It looks like that's an HMG, in fact, in there. It's been picked up by the airborne, or a fresh HMG squad sitting in there and guarding that victory point. This is going to be a difficult situation. The Tiger Ace really needs to get a few more penetrations to take the lead in this battle. Support from a second Tiger or a Stug or something that could help reveal that rear armor would really help out in this engagement. As it is, it keeps battering away. They're battering away each other. This is could be a long one. In this situation, I always find it's very valuable just to quickly take one shot off and take out these engineers that take out extra damage. There you go, while they're repairing. And then it's not only does it stop the repairs, but it's another squad wipe down there. But now we see a Sherman coming around to flank the Tiger Ace. This Tiger Ace has to get out of there. Does have a Stug now coming out to help it out. I'm not sure that's going to be enough. I missed what went in there to go for the flank on the Pershing, but it certainly didn't go well. Now the Tiger Ace is itself being flanked here. Some Grenadiers coming over to try and help out. They may try and pick up that AT gun, although they would lose the LMG, so I'm not sure that's a long-term would be a good decision. The Sherman has in fact just been chased away just by the Tiger Ace on its own. In the meantime, an AT gun was dropped behind the Tiger Ace here, but isn't able to do the damage, and the Tiger Ace decides to move in against the Pershing. Sherman and AT gun lying in wait, gets penetrated at the front, has damaged armor now, and I cannot imagine a world in which that Tiger Ace gets away. Main gun destroyed. It is the M4 Sherman that gets the final shot there, getting itself the veterancy 2 that makes it even more powerful than it normally is. Now we see the bombing run from the airborne, not quite placed correctly there, just misses the Sherman but doesn't miss the just misses the Stug, excuse me, but doesn't miss the Sherman. Oh, there will be words, I'm sure, in the Allied headquarters after that. The middle now, a little bit of a pushback with infantry in the middle, quite effective, being able to take control of that victory point again. And this airborne squad is in a little bit of trouble if it's not too careful. But in the north, the Pershing is now being repaired and has veterancy 2, so it will be even more difficult to take out in future battles than it already has been. Yeah, the middle now is a little bit of control being exerted by the Axis, and with no Calliopes on the field, at least for now, they can have a little bit of confidence in these large and growing infantry blobs of theirs that they can push back or get a little bit of control on the map and consolidate their position slightly. Pioneers now upping their munitions income by salvaging some of the many wrecks that are adorn the middle of Lorraine as we speak. Small little push by the Stug 4 there, chased away by an airborne squad with a Panzerschreck. More units being dropped in. The supply drops being dropped in for the fuel and munitions income that the Allies so desperately need at this point. Although the map control has remained, I would say, slightly in their favour throughout this game. Even though the Axis have pushed back on a number of occasions, they haven't really been able to get a stranglehold on the map in the way that they may have wished. Pioneers here are now pushing forward here, although they're pushing forward into the Sherman, which I think cannot be a good idea. Although the Sherman, a little bit more friendly fire there, taking out its own observation post, so getting it down to low health at least. But now this Stug 4 is certainly overextended. Stugs, although good in numbers on their own, when they're isolated, go down so quickly, particularly to the upgunned Shermans that have the extra penetration and are more often able to get through that frontal armor that is so powerful. We now see a third Tiger Ace on the field for Eye of the Storm. Looks like it wants to come forward and engage with these Shermans in the middle again. I would say this is a little bit of a risky move, of course. You've got the good opportunity to try and take out these Shermans when they are relatively undefended. Said that, there is the Pershing in the north, almost fully healed up. And I think this could have been a much more strong push if they were able to support it with a Blitz Tiger and maybe some Stormtroopers as well. We see the Sherman there popping smoke ability, which prevents units from hitting it as effectively, much like the mortar smoke charge. More frequently used as a way to get away, at least in these early patches, because it would prevent the Sherman from being hit and would give it the opportunity to retreat to a safer area. Although in later patches, as we'll see, it could also be used offensively, very powerful in what was called the Sherman Plasma Shield era of Company of Heroes 1. I look forward to showing you that in a future Blitz episode for sure, and seeing the extent of how ridiculous that short era of the game was. Now we see an MP40 squad and a Stug moving up from the south. Going to give a little bit of support to the Tiger Aces that move forward, although the Stug has now managed to find itself isolated again, and it will almost certainly go down to the Sherman chasing it. As good as the front armor is, it isn't going to be able to take this out on its own in particular. Yeah, veterancy 1 for yet another Sherman now. 2 veterancy 1 Shermans to go with the veterancy 2 Pershing. And the 2 Shermans are now moving towards the south, or are they going to come back to the north? In the meantime, we do see the Tiger Ace and the Stormtroopers that accompanied the second Blitz Tiger of the game. They've decided to divert their forces here and move the Blitz Tiger on its own towards the south, perhaps to try and support this Grenadier squad that's trying to decap and increase the control of the south. Yet another Panzerschreck shot phases through the Sherman now. It's very frustrating. You now see 2 Shermans in the south, with the Blitz Tiger now coming to take them on. 2 veterancy Shermans without quite full health against the Blitz Tiger. It's a bit of an awkward engagement. If they're able to control it perfectly, it might be okay, but with the Stormtrooper support, I think that will be very difficult. The Sherman almost certain to go down now. Well, the Pershing is coming from the north to try and get a pot shot off on these Stormtroopers, although with heavy cover I think they should be okay for a short while at least. In fact, it is the Stormtroopers getting a shot there, although they lose their heavy cover as the car gets destroyed. And now the Blitz Tiger chooses, rather than trying to finish off that Sherman, to instead move forward and try and take out this Pershing. Seems like another missed opportunity to take out the Sherman that's now healing up in the base and is being just replaced by another one. Yet another one. Another Stormtrooper stock goes down as well. A bombing run comes in. Takes out a Grenadier squad. Does good damage to the Tiger Ace. But meanwhile, the Blitz Tiger is now using its Blitzkrieg ability to chase down the M26 Pershing. I don't think it stands a chance now of getting away with the extra speed and fire rate of that Blitz Tiger, but at the same time we see the Tiger Ace being chased down by two Shermans in the middle, the two that were moved up from the south. When the Blitz Tiger vacated the area, it could be the third Tiger Ace of the game. I mean, I wonder how many aces the Axis really have in reserve. In 1.2 it seemed they had unlimited. This Tiger Ace looks destined to go down now. Yep, there it is. I wonder which got the final shot there. We'll see as it goes down. No veterancy immediately coming on this. I'm not exactly sure who got the final blow. Unless it was maybe the AT gun in the north. Could well have been. Veterancy 2 there now on the AT gun too. A lot of veterancy accruing on the Allied side, which is really going to help them in these late game battles against the stronger Axis units. We see Blitzkrieg pushed again. That should really spell the end for this Sherman, although a second Sherman is now coming up, and an AT gun from the south. Backed up by the A gun with the north. And now the Tiger just goes down so rapidly indeed once it gets surrounded like this. Really, I think we're seeing the same lesson being learnt again and again and again by the Axis, or the opportunity to learn the lesson has happened again and again and again. That they really need, these heavy tanks are not that effective on their own. Need support from infantry or other lighter tanks to really be that effective. Now we do see a walking sucker barrage going up, coming down on, I would imagine, on this area here. Yep, it does come down on the engineer squad. Not able to do too much damage though. The engineers survive pretty handily and are able to move back and support this Sherman here. With second walking sucker barrage goes up, comes down, actually does more damage to the Stug 4 than it does to the enemy. This has really been a bit of a disaster for the artillery. We've seen so much friendly fire in this game. Hopefully by the time we get to the next match they will have recalibrated somewhat and we won't see so many team kills. Volksgrenadiers moving forward there, wanting to take out the final shot there. In the meantime, Grenadiers coming, and if they are able to decrew this AT gun it could help a great deal as the veterancy is lost. The Sherman healing up neatly. The walking Stuka could do a great deal of damage there. The AT gun does indeed go down. Now the airborne in the south have been dropped in there. Looks like a nice fresh squad just to kind of exert a little bit, or to exert a little bit more VP pressure on the Axis. It seems like they now do have all three VPs captured, and the triple capture like this makes the victory points of the Axis tick down extremely quickly. Given the fact that the Axis have very little infantry on the field, this could be quite a difficult moment. The walking Stukas, though, do move down to the south, fire up in the air, and this airborne squad, if it doesn't see it coming, could take an awfully large amount of damage. That was extremely underwhelming for reasons that I think you may find rather interesting. So it was actually discovered at the release of Opposing Fronts, the expansion pack to Company of Heroes, that throughout the entirety of Vanilla Company of Heroes' lifespan, the Axis artillery were in fact, due to a bug in the tables, the damage tables were actually doing half the damage they should have been throughout that entire time. So, whereas today, two walking suckers going down on a capping airborne squad like that, you could be sure of several models going down, if not a squad wipe. That was not the case in Vanilla Company of Heroes. I think that's one bug that we're all happy that was rooted out and fixed during Opposing Fronts. Now this Sherman is going to probably be able to take out these two half-tracks, these walking Stukas, which will be an extremely expensive moment for the Axis, although just split them off. That's a very nice move there. So even if one goes down, the other should be able to get to safety. Again, the Axis have got the two heavy tanks on the field, Tiger Ace in the north, Blitz Tiger in the south, splitting their forces again, which seems like a good idea to try and halt the VP drain, being able to take a little bit of territory. Having said that, though, again, by splitting up these units consistently, it does give the Allies, with their more mobile armor the opportunity to flank in and do some damage. Looks like one walking sticker will go down in the base, another Sherman being tricky there. Whereas in the south we see a Pershing with Sherman support. And an AT gun now dropping behind that Tiger. I can't imagine this Tiger will escape. Oh, and with Allied War Machine popped as well, even if it does manage to do some damage even if it does manage to take out the Pershing, that will of course be refunded back to the Allies immediately at the drop-off point. Good job by Begs here to change the fire to make sure it's not firing at the Pershing. It won't give the Allies the opportunity to have that tank replenished to them for free. Although it is getting a little bit awkward. We see the Sherman behind it. This Tiger must be set to go down. I'm just looking at the timing of this. Very, very tricky indeed. The Tiger does go down. Oh, and unfortunately does take out the Pershing at the very last second after it's already dead to the world itself. And that is a free Pershing. A free Pershing, absolutely free Pershing for the Allies there. Just for the cost of the Allied War Machine, which for armor in the late game, because they have relatively few ways to use their munitions apart from mines and just kind of the standard non-company specific abilities that all Allied commanders would have. And they really often do have a huge bank of munitions towards the end of the game to invest in Allied War Machine, as we saw there, or crew repairs. And in the early days of company periods, there was no limit to the amount of manpower you could get back or the number of tanks you could get back from Allied War Machine. That was a limit was later introduced. So in the huge tank games that you often tank battles that you often saw in team games, Allied War Machine really came to dominate the end of the game, the late game battles, and the ability to, attack ground and make sure you weren't attacking those that would be refunded became a big part of the meta. Oh, that's a huge moment there. The Tiger Ace getting engine damage there and a nasty suppression because of the mine damage on these grenadiers and Panzerstrikes. It does mean that this battle is going to be particularly awkward. We do hear a firestorm going down though. Looks like it's going down on the Pershing. I'm not sure how much damage that will really do. This engineer squad was likely to go down, but the Pershing is just able to retreat away. It may be that that was better off used on the AT gun specifically, which instead they're trying to take out with the walking Stuka barrage from up here, but it will get away, avoiding both the Firestorm and the walking Stuka. I mean, that's a lot of investment of munitions and the time of the barrage on those walking Stukas that's unfortunately to no avail whatsoever. Yet another Blitz Tiger now coming into the middle. Going to try and push through there with their Stormtrooper support and take back this VP, but they are now getting somewhat critical with just over 50 VPs now. The Axis really have no choice but to pay a little bit more attention and prioritize VPs more than they have at this point. Having said that, these Stormtroopers are now moving forward, do get off a tasty bundle grenade there, which is very effective, but haven't yet capped this point. May have been effective instead there to send the Tiger in instead. We do see another awkward engagement in the north as a Panzerschreck engineer squad with double veterancy are moving forward now to support the Pershing, going up against this Tiger Race, which is also being hit by the AT gun. The Pershing does go down. The Tiger Race 2 may be on its way out if it's not careful, although a second walking Stuka barrage does come in and again fails to take out the crew of the AT gun. That is desperate for the Axis. I can barely believe that happened. The Tiger now is coming across to help in this engagement and gets the hit mine critical, which is always a strange one. The hit mine critical is, I'm not a particular fan of it. It means that the the vehicle doesn't receive engine damage but receives double damage from the mine. It's a relatively rare critical, and I think often you would much rather that the tank or the vehicle that gets hit by the mine would take the engine damage critical rather than having a little bit of extra damage done to it. Particularly Tiger that has so many hit points anyway. It's not the case in this one. You see another bombing run goes in there and takes out both walking Stukas. Fantastic value for money there. Taking out both of those, preventing any future damage and meaning that the munitions invested in them is completely lost. I think that was a very good bombing run indeed. And also here we saw yet another Tiger Ace go down, Blitz Tiger go down. Tiger Ace in the north is not being repaired. The Allies are now pushing forward once again with a nice little nice little armor unit here should be able to take out this Tiger Ace, which is sheepishly reversing into the corner of the map here, hoping to be repaired sometime soon by this Pioneer squad. I'm not sure they're going to be able to get over there now. This looks like it will go down quite easily. One Sherman goes, wow, knocks through the wall there. So desperate it is to get the kill, and it does. And triple veterancy Sherman. A triple veterancy Sherman now with all those offensive bonuses to back up the Pershing. That is going to be quite a formidable opposition. I can't see now a way for this to really come back the way of the Axis. This Pioneer squad will go down. Airborne now being dropped in the north to take out that VP. There is a good lock on this central VP, but the south I think is going to be very difficult to hold. A Sherman, one Sherman being left down there to fend off any infantry, with AT gun support to fend off any tanks that come down, like this Tiger Ace. Yet another Tiger Ace that's been called in. The Axis have no choice now but to try and try and get control of another victory point here. The Stormtroopers in the middle use their Blitz Assault Grenade ability to try and take out this airborne squad, and it seems like they have been successful. However, this Grenadier squad desperately needs to take a second VP very quickly indeed, because it is counting down now. Only 20 VPs left in the bank. Not much of an opportunity left here. You may be better off just sending those Grenadiers forward to cap the point. You're in with a chance here if you can keep the points under control. There's very little infantry on the field here for the Allies to help push forward. The Tiger Ace does lose half of its health taking out that AT gun. Very awkwardly indeed. It will take out this tank. But now with only 14 VPs remaining, this Grenadier squad have to get their skates on, get down here and cap this point as soon as they can. We see more infantry moving up here, maybe try and get towards that middle VP. Pioneers now have gone forward and taken out this point. It looks like they may have moved down from the central VP here. Although we do see another airborne squad moving towards the middle. I'm not sure there's enough here to prevent the cap. The Tiger may be able to take them out, but I'm not sure they'll be able to prevent the cap in the first instance. Particularly now that this Stormtrooper squad have moved away from the VP. And now there's also a lot more Allied infantry support moving down from the north to help put pressure on this VP. With just 9 in the bank, it's going to be very tricky here to hold on to this, I think. One airborne squad moves in next to the point, may be able to start capping, while another with a Panzerstrike comes up to help out the Sherman in doing damage to the Tiger and pushing it away. We now see, if anything, too much on the southern VP, I would say, because now they don't have enough to prevent the decap here. Grenade goes in. Doesn't do the damage necessary to get this squad off the point. May just be happy just to sit stationary in that crevice there, in cover. Use the LMG to do a great deal of damage. It does, in fact, take out the entire squad there. The Allied mortar coming down from the north, though, picked up from the supply drop, may be able to help there. You desperately need to get yourself into some cover. Oh, and the Pershing comes in now, and this may be curtains. The Pershing moving forward, taking out the final Grenadier squad. There's nothing left. One of the Grenadiers is still there. Somehow it's alive, not being focus fired. 2 Pershings now on the field, and there the Grenadier does go down. 2 Pershings and a Sherman. I cannot imagine in any world in which these Stormtroopers are able to take that out. In fact, no. You do see the engineers getting the cap off, and no Axis infantry anywhere closer really to the northern VP, which has helped them to stem the flow of VPs away from them here. Looks like we may be drawing towards the end of the game here. I cannot see any world in which these are able to get the cap off with only 6 VPs remaining and 2 Pershings and a Sherman standing in the way. Well, I think I'm a little bit sad to see this game coming to an end. I've really enjoyed that. It's rare, as you can see here. This was one of the early features of the game to see 2 Pershings in the field at the same time, with the armor company allowing you to have 2 Pershings simultaneously, just as Blitz allowed you to have 2 Tiger tanks. They really are. These enormous heavy armor battles really are a hallmark of early Company of Heroes, and something that was really quite a joy to behold. Yeah, I think missed opportunities on both sides. the Axis desperately needed a little bit more support for their heavy tanks that they kept calling in. Of course, it is tricky when they're so expensive in the first place to call in, to have infantry spare when you're saving up the 1,000 manpower for the tank every time. But certainly a bit more unit preservation and a little bit more support for the heavy tanks could have made all the difference. And I hope you've enjoyed this 2v2 cast. Thank you for joining in, and I look forward to seeing you in a future video. Thanks.